Really?
Yeah, I love it.
I know.
All right. You ready?
Yes.
Excellent. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Recovery Scene. I am your host, Leslie. Make sure that you like and subscribe and feel free to share with others. Tonight, I have Kayla with us. Now, Kayla, you've never been an addict yourself, have you?
No.
Okay. So Kayla's story might relate to quite a few of you who watch this program on a regular basis, because I know that some of you have spouses, parents, children, etc. And so Kayla is going to be talking to us about how addiction has touched her life through those she cares about, and just the story of growing up, you know, with a parent who struggled with alcoholism, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm not going to tell you anything else because it's Kayla's story. So Kayla, thanks so much for being here and being willing to just share your story and being so active in the recovery community.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. My name's Kayla. I'm from a little town right outside of Atlantic City, New Jersey, a little beach town. So I grew up pretty normal. My parents were very young when they had me. They were 18 and 19. They did the best that they could. My parents, I have younger siblings because they obviously divorced and whatever. I joke with my brother that I got the cool mom because she was young. And
Right.
we got to do all the cool things together. And now I'm like, oh, she's old. She's really not that old, but I joke. So my dad is an alcoholic. He just celebrated 11 years of sobriety on the 20th.
Nice.
Growing up, he never let me know that he was, hammered. I never knew it when I was small. He was, everything was always special. Everything was always, it's all about Kayla because I was the only child. He actually just shared his story, and he shared that one time he was hungover and sick, and I went in and he said, oh no, we're not going to go do that today. Daddy doesn't feel good. And I tapped him on the head and said, don't worry, Daddy, I'll take care of you. Wow. Okay. My dad was a police officer. So with that came, that extra stress and, traumatic moments that my dad's seen a lot.
Right. Right. There is a high occurrence of alcoholism in certain jobs, especially first responders.
Yeah. So as I got older, I started noticing, more of those behaviors and the crying. And I just, for a long time, I didn't want to be around him. Nope, I'm good. I would go to, my grandparents' house, my mom's house, cousin's houses just to get away. My mom is also not an addict. So she kind of shielded me from that too, because she didn't want me to have like that negative. She didn't want me to think negatively of my dad.
Right.
When I was going into the 7th grade, my mom remarried, and an opportunity came that my stepdad got a job in Maine. And going into middle school, I was like, oh, I need my mom. Like, I love my dad, but I need my mom. Like,
right.
I need my mom during those times where I'm becoming a teenager. And so I moved away. And that was my escape from getting away from my dad. Not that he was violent towards me, or I disassociated when he was drinking.
Right. It's emotionally taxing if you don't.
Yeah. And, I tried like, please, Dad, just stop. Please, please, please. But that was my out. Like, I'll just go with Mom and I'll go away for a little while. I still came back for holidays. I spent my summers at the Jersey Shore. All was right in the world because I wasn't around him 24/7. But for me, my mom always made it as normal as she could.
Mhm.
So I went from 7th grade to 12th grade in Maine. I went to school. I played sports. I was an average student. I hung out with all different types of people. There wasn't just like one clique that I hung out with, but I always felt like I was like an outcast. And I kind of was. I was a kid from New Jersey living in Maine. Like they don't
Right.
take too kindly to people not from their area. So that was part of it. And I really didn't start experimenting until I was, a senior in high school, drinking, smoking weed. Like I didn't want to disappoint anybody. So I always like, nope, I don't go to parties. I don't do this. I don't do that. My senior year, I kind of became like that rebel child, if you want to call it, not coming home. And my mom took my door, and I was
the old take the door move.
Yep. I was like, oh, what the hell? But my senior year, I always had it in my head that my dad was an alcoholic. My grandfather is also an alcoholic. He has like 30 years sober.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So it does run in the family.
Mm-hmm.
So I always kept that in the back of my head. My senior year, I didn't want to go to prom, but I still threw a kick-ass party. And trigger warning for anybody. I had gotten drunk and fell asleep on my friend's couch. And I woke up to a friend or somebody that I thought was my friend sexually assaulting me. I slept in the hallway of my upstairs because I didn't want to be around him. And the next morning, so that was the house that we could drink at. His mom, as long as you don't drive, you can stay here and you can drink as much as you want.
Right.
The next morning, the kid that assaulted me told my friend's mom, but said it, oh, I made a mistake. And she tried to get us to talk. And I was like, nope, I'm good. And then
yeah, that's not really something you just hug out.
Yeah, I'm sorry. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a couple days
by a lot of throat punch lines. and then some.
Exactly. So a couple days have gone by, and I grew up in a very small town, and it got around, and people said, oh, she probably made it up. So to me, my friends didn't even believe me. What my parents aren't going to believe me, because I was a teenager thinking that in my head. If my best friends don't believe me, my parents aren't going to believe me.
Right.
Exactly. Going to believe me. But then I had an out because I was graduating and I was going to New Jersey, and that was me running again. There's my fresh start. I was enrolled in school for the fall for my freshman year in college, and I was like, I'm not going. Nope. And if I do, I'll go somewhere else. So I graduated and I ran. I went with my dad. My dad had actually my dad was new in sobriety at that point. And I moved down there. I was obsessed with working. I worked and worked and worked. I'll skip a little bit. So I had my first adult boyfriend a couple years after being there. I went to cosmetology school. I got my cosmetology license. I was waitressing and still learning that my dad was sober. It was weird, because then it was where are you going? What are you doing? What do you need $20 for? And I was like, this used to be so easy. I could just be Dad.
When did you become a responsible adult?
Yeah, I was like, Dad, come on.
Right. Now, how long had he been sober at this point?
I want to say it was I think he got sober in 20. He was a couple months, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
He had gotten sober right before I graduated high school. I graduated high school in 2011. So I want to say he was early in sobriety my senior year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So I was navigating my way of like, oh, I can't get away with shit anymore. um, so then fast forward, I was working, living with my dad. I turned 21 and I met my first, adult love.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I told my dad, oh, he's a cop. And my dad was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, cops. Like, hello, I'm your father. He had a drinking problem as well. And I remember we were at a fire and one night he put his hands on me and I was shocked. But at that point, I didn't understand because I was still so young, 21, like, oh, he was drunk. Like it was just an accident.
Right.
He didn't know what he was doing. So, I stayed and then it got worse, but he was smart because it was not on my face.
Right.
Wasn't on my arms. It was all hidden. You couldn't see it. And he also used to say, like, even if you tell, no one will believe you because I have power.
Right.
So shortly after that, we broke up. At that point I wasn't educated in addiction. I wasn't. I was naive and, my dad did it cold turkey. So like, to me, he was like a hero. Like you just stopped.
Right.
Like one day you were just like, I'm done. But now I know you get to that point where you're just done. Shortly after I met, it was a couple years and my dad and I, thick as thieves. I met another guy and same thing. Abuse happened again. But then I was older and I understood like, this isn't okay. This isn't something that is acceptable in a loving relationship.
Right.
And then, I was working, I got my CNA license. I was working in a nursing home and I met my ex and he was like nobody I had ever met before. Very open, very honest. He had done time in prison, told me right off the bat. And I said, you know what? People make mistakes and whatever.
Right.
So we dated for a while and I
Like,
started.
is it homicide? No. Okay.
Yeah. Like, did you kill someone? He was like, no. I was like, okay, then we're fine. And we were dating and then I started seeing strange behaviors and isolating and, just being downright nasty. We had ended up breaking up. And shortly after, it was like 3 or 4 months, we'd gotten back together and we got back together and he said, I have something to tell you. And I was like, okay. He said, well, I got another girl pregnant. Okay. So I had to deal with that on my, I dealt with it, whatever. We went on till the summer or no, she was pregnant. The isolating and the being nasty came back around and I was naive to, I had only been around alcoholics, my dad, my grandfather, but that was an eye opener for me to see somebody on a drug. Like it was totally different than seeing my dad.
Right. Right. I can imagine because even though, yes, addiction is addiction, there are different kinds of addiction.
Yeah. Like it was, it was a different animal for me that I was used to. The summer after we got back together, he was on parole and he failed a urine test. So that was a mandatory 90 days in a halfway house. That was a jail. It wasn't a halfway house, it was jail.
Right.
So, I'd stuck it out. His son was born that September. And, he got on Suboxone. He was doing really good. They saved his job for him. And from there, it would be like 6 months We'd be good for he'd be good for 6 months, and then he would relapse. And then he'd be good for 3 months and then relapse. And I learned that the more you talk about it and you don't show progression, that's how for him at least, with dealing with him, that's how I knew a relapse had happened. If I saw more talking than actual action,
right,
that was like
in recovery, actions are so important because actions show you, especially if you know somebody.
Yeah.
You're using or you're drinking or you're not. The actions will show you,
right, exactly.
because we think we are really slick when it comes to hiding this stuff. And
oh yeah, like I'm on, it's my antidepressants. No, it's not. Oh, I'm just tired. No. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, even just recently, I had to come to grips with, wait, you're not slick.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I'll give you the A for effort for trying to be slick, but you're not.
No, you're not fooling anybody anywhere.
So, yeah, we went on, and that summer, his son was born 2 months before he got out of the halfway house, and he was good because he knew, like, in his head, like, I have to be good for this child. Like, I can't be ripping and running if I have a child.
His parents are always good.
Yeah. Yeah. His parents had asked him to take a DNA test just to make sure. And 2 days before he went to court, he found out that he wasn't his. And that, not that I like excused a relapse, but I understood.
It was the perfect excuse.
Yeah.
To go back to the worst coping skill ever. Yeah.
Right. Like, I was like, I mean, if I was in his shoes, I probably would have done the same thing. And that's when he went down a very, very deep, dark hole. And I knew I probably wasn't going to get him back. But I had put so much time and effort into trying to fix him that I was losing myself.
And I'm so glad you said that you just put it honestly, trying to fix him, because for anybody listening, especially the ladies, not that men don't do this, but women, let's face it, we're feelers, we're nurturers, a lot of us. And we think, oh my God, he needs me.
Yeah.
He needs my help. If I leave, he doesn't have anybody. There's nobody supporting him, et cetera, et cetera. You can't. You cannot fix him. You cannot, know. Or, like I said, they can only fix themselves, you know, and it will tear you down.
Yeah. And for a very long time, I had to come to grips with the fact, and within the last month, I came to grips with, I can't fix him because he doesn't want to be fixed.
Right.
And, we went on, countless, money taken from me, not coming home until late at night, the stories, it got really, really, really tiring. And now that
at some point, it's insulting.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah. Like,
really think I'm buying this?
Right.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I was like, okay, sure. So this past Christmas, he had gotten arrested, and he texted me, and I was like, this has got to be a joke. Like, you're joking. You're joking. He's like, no, I'm not. But they're going to let me go. I have to go to rehab. Like, I can go to they're going to release me, but I have to go to rehab. And I was like, okay, we're going.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't give him the choice of like, oh, I'll come home and get my clothes. I was like, nope, I got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want that, like, oh, I'll just go tomorrow. I was like, nope, we're going. And it was 3 hours away in Maryland. I was like, I don't care. I'll drive through the night. And before all this, I had gone on TikTok, and I knew he had relapsed, and I was like, oh, let me just download this app because we're still in like a semi-quarantine, and, we can't really go anywhere. And then all these people in recovery started popping up on my For You page, and I was like, are they reading my mind? Like, are these people reading my mind that I need
Right?
that? Crazy. So he went to rehab. He did 30 days. And, he was like, I'm good. I promise I'm good. Okay. And he got into a sober living. That lasted for about a week. And then another one happened. Another relapse happened. And at that point, I was so tired. I was tired. And I said, you're either going to, what are we doing? Like,
right.
I can't keep doing this. I'm driving myself crazy. He had started going to, when he was in rehab, I met Jen and Mike, and
okay.
they were going to Kensington. And I was like, can I come? And they're like, yeah, of course. And, I just needed something to do.
Right.
I needed to feel like I was helping people.
Right.
And it was right around Christmas, and that filled up my love tank for sure.
Yeah. See, that's it. We can't fix. We definitely don't want to enable, but we can help.
Right.
In other ways. Absolutely.
Yeah. So he got out of rehab. He went to sober living. He got kicked out, relapsed. Then I kind of saw a little bit of a light, I'm going to meetings, and they did an outside fire meeting, like a bonfire. So Saturdays he went and cut wood for the fire for the week, and they were all older men. And I was like, this is what he needs. He needs older guys that are gonna be like, sorry, not happening. Right, and they kind of told him you shouldn't have left. You should have stayed longer. So he checked himself back in. And that's when I set my hard boundaries. I'm only talking to you once a week. Unless it's with your doctor or your caseworker, another circumstance, me and you are only having a conversation once a week. And I stuck with that. And it was really hard, but I had to do it because it was always on the phone. Oh, I don't want to be here anymore. I just want to come home. And I had heard all that before.
Yeah.
And I was just so beaten down and broken. And my friends actually were the ones that told me that I was beaten down and broken. I had no idea until my own friends sat me down and said, homegirl,
right,
you need to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we have this amazing tendency to take care of everybody but us. And so we don't notice.
And I never knew. I always thought I hid my pain really well because I grew up in an Irish, Italian, Catholic household. You don't talk about your feelings. You don't talk about your feelings with outside people.
Right.
And I got this in the bag. And people were like, no, we can see it. I was like, damn, I thought I was doing a really good job. So we got out. He went again back to rehab. He got out in March, the end of March, and New Jersey State Parole said, you're not our problem anymore because his parole is out of state. You've had 3 chances and you're going back to the state you were paroled from. So that was in Arkansas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's how I spent my Easter, was making sure that he got to Arkansas. And, I was planning on picking up and moving there.
Right.
And
of course.
Yeah, because I thought everything was fine. He had gotten on the Vivitrol shot and was going to meetings and doing what he had to do. And then once he moved there, he knew I didn't have direct tabs on him anymore. So then that's when it all fell again. And I kind of was manifesting myself to let go. Putting it out there, please just let me have the strength to, I think I just have, when you're done, they say it'll just come and you're done. And I had my moment and I was just I can't anymore.
A toxic relationship is absolutely, it can be an addiction.
Yeah.
It
And
absolutely can.
I was addicted to the chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when things were normal, I was like, oh my God, what's like, when's the shoe going to drop?
Right.
And I had just had enough. I was tired. I was, I didn't feel loved anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I do love him and I probably always will, but I love myself more.
Right. And you have to.
Yeah. And, I still do my outreaches. Like that's what gives me my natural high, is doing service work and
Yeah. Now tell us how, you have taken this and what you're doing with Recovery Army Outreach. A lot of you might remember Mike Gleam. He's been on the show a couple of times actually, and I wear a lot of their merch and stuff. Tell us what you're doing with them.
Well, we actually, Christina McDowell and Brandy and myself are actually, Christina's starting her own nonprofit called Our Dash. So it's stemmed from the Dash poem, if anybody's ever heard that.
Yeah.
So
the dash in between, for those that don't know, you have a date you're born and you have a date you die. Yep. But the important stuff happens in the dash. Yeah.
So that's getting up
super cliff notes.
So Christina, who's starting it, she lost her husband to addiction.
Mm-hmm.
She also is in recovery. And we all just Brandy and I were kind of like, all right, well, let's start something. We want to start something for women to make women feel like y'all are badass bitches in recovery. Right. And you deserve, I believe that. So we're, that's getting off the ground, but like, I enjoy doing my outreaches with Mike and Recovery Army, but we're doing it too. And we're really excited. But for me, it's a high for me to go out there and let these people know, like, we still know that you're human.
Right.
Like, you're not just you're not a piece of garbage on the street. Like, you're a human and you deserve, if you want it, it's here. If you want that, here. And that's
it's so easy. You see people, it drives me nuts when you see these videos on TikTok or Instagram or, Reels or whatever. And clearly this person is, high, and they're acting like a fool, or they're, just doing whatever they're doing. And it's so easy to write this person off, to strip away their humanity. Mm-hmm. And write them off and make fun of them. And, this is going to make the part of society that aren't addicts feel so much better, because at least you're not this guy. And it's like, let me tell you two things. There are no nevers. There are only not yets. So never, ever say, this will never happen to me. People have gotten into car accidents and have been prescribed pills and couldn't come off them. I mean, stuff happens. Second of all, this is somebody's brother, son, father, sister, mother, friend. Somebody loves this person and has had to let go. Mm-hmm. And it's breaking their heart. Yeah. So there's a lot of humanity there. Yeah. You can't see it past the addiction is the problem. And it's really easy to attack that.
And I mean, I know, like, I am not an addict, but I know I have the ism. I just never, and there's nothing to say that one day down the road, it could happen to me. Right. God willing, it doesn't, but I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know what the future holds. But to me, seeing those people, like, that could have been my dad. That could have been my ex. And I would want somebody to treat them the way that we treat them when we go down there. Even if it's just to say, like, hey, you want a bottle of water? Or, hey, we got sandwiches.
Right. And for people that don't know, Kensington is basically an open air drug market. They basically have police down there to stop any serious violence, and if somebody's ODing, I mean,
yeah, and that's
otherwise,
and sadly, that's not even the case down there. It's hell on earth.
yeah, it's basically a presence for show.
Yeah,
because they do nothing. It's people camp there, they live there.
mm-hmm.
I mean, Mike lived there for what, 6 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, these people live there and they live like this every single day.
Yeah, and for me, like, you know, we go on usually a Saturday early, and then we're back by like late afternoon, and the whole next day, just because your adrenaline's going and your emotions are going, the whole next day I'm in bed because I'm just so tired. But I get that like comeback, like I get to go home.
Right.
These people call this home, but I get to go home to four walls with my TV, with my phone, with my family. Like it brings me back to reality, and like that could be me one day.
Right. And then there are the people that will say, you know, oh, well, they could too. Right. They just made that choice. Now, once you are that deep into addiction, the chemicals in your brain function has very literally changed. And this is just science. You know, anybody watching this can just Google, you know, you'll find it. But it changes, and it affects the same areas that host mental illness like depression, schizophrenia, anxiety, etc. And so they're starting to classify addiction under a mental illness, which I think is appropriate. I just, you know, being an addict myself, and, you know, I really do. And so, no, they can't a lot of the times just make that choice. And it's terrifying. If you've lived this way for years, you don't even remember what it's like to not be high, except sick. You don't remember what it's like, you know, the good life that you used to have. And some of these people didn't have a good life. They went to drugs and to escape from another hell. They went from one hell to another hell, you know, but at the time they thought they were escaping. So it's really easy to judge, you know, but when you see it firsthand, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely, it brings you back to like, wow. I remember really like the first time I went down there, I was like, wow, like I didn't even think, you know, I heard stories. I grew up an hour away from Philadelphia. I'd never been down there, but I've heard stories, and and being down there, I was like, holy shit. Like I didn't expect this.
Right.
I grew up near Atlantic City, and we do have a homeless population, but it's not like that.
Right.
But I've just, you know, I've decided to turn my pain into purpose, and that's what I've been doing since.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I'm so glad. And you guys, Kayla came to me and she was like, can I tell my story? I've never been an addict, but can I tell my story? I'm like, yeah, you can tell your story. This is stories of people touched by addiction. Yeah. So, you know, that includes anybody touched by addiction. And I'm so glad that you contacted me and that you came on and just, you know, just shared this, because there are a lot of people out there who have loved ones, you know, and they do have to remember, you've got to draw boundaries. You can't let somebody suck the life out of you. You just can't.
Yeah. And as much as it sucks to set those boundaries, you'll be so much better off. It sucks doing it, and it breaks your heart, but, you know, at the end of the day, you have to protect yourself. And that's what you know.
You do. And if you're completely run out, you can't help anybody else anyway.
Yeah.
You know, that's not going to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you again. That's going to do it for this episode of The Recovery Scene. We hope you enjoyed it. Everybody that's on the live, thank you so much. And remember, addiction isn't pretty, but recovery is beautiful. And we will see you next time.